And I think you recognize from the slide, this is George Washington crossing the Delaware. Authenticity, the first key principle of authenticity is self. And when we say self, I'm not talking about the kind of self that is self-centered or selfish, or gee, I have to know all about myself so that I can achieve my self's goals. I'm talking about the kind of self that is aware of self to the point that you know your impact, that you know what your priorities are, that you are aligned with your internal core beliefs, that you understand the ethics of who you are. And Washington, to me, is an amazing figure. Because first of all, you have to understand the risk. Well, I'm sure everybody understands the risk that he took. You know, he's either going to win or lose in a big way, because the revolution is a capital offense to the British Crown in those days. So, Washington and all of those leaders put a lot on the line. But a little bit of a story here to help you see some of the authenticity in George Washington was when he crossed the Delaware, which is the famous painting. The situation is it's Christmas, and it's just an amazingly bad weather. It's a northeasterner is coming into town, and Washington, the army is just totally beaten back. In fact, they're on a retreat. Not a retreat for having fun, but they're actually retreating, and they're trying to recover here. The army is being decimated, and the enlistments are just, in 5 days, half the army is done with their enlistment. So, Washington's got a real problem here. And the Brits think, well, we've nailed this. And so, as gentlemen officers do, they don't fight at night, and they don't fight in the winter back in these days. And so they all quartered somewhere else, and they left a small guard in town of Trenton, and also another guard in Princeton. They're mostly German or Hessian troops at that time. So Washington came up with this plan. He said, we've got to do something. We've got to get on the offensive and do something before all these enlistments are out. And so what they did was, the famous crossing of the Delaware. He actually divided his forces into three, and of the three forces, they were all three supposed to cross, do a midnight crossing, and then launch an early morning raid into Trenton. Only one made it across, and that was Washington's. The other two, didn't make it across. Didn't have the same fortitude to be able to do the job. So Washington crosses the Delaware with a troop force of about 2,000 or so, and then they march on Trenton. And actually, the process was amazingly cold. Actually, 2 people died because it was so cold. If you can just imagine being exposed, a lot of people without shoes and everything. But my point on this one is using Washington as an example of somebody that understood who he was. Because part of being true to self in the authentic realm is understanding your role to the organization. Your role as a leader to the organization becomes more important than your role to yourself. And Washington knew that. And so he lived that principle. And people followed him. The stories are that when he was around, everybody stood a little taller. Everybody was